pretty much subdued following this announcement of President Uhuru Kenyatta's re-election. Sam, what more can you tell us?
Precisely so, actually, disappointment from residents here in Kisumu because of that announcement of President Uhuru Kenyatta as president-elect from this repeat election. Of course, residents, immediately that announcement was made, Kisumu burst into protest, residents protesting, and the epicenter of Kisumu and the heart of it actually being in Kondele, which has become synonymous to protest here in Kisumu town. Residents barricading roads at that particular place and also burning tires just to register their disappointment from this whole exercise, as it were. Of course, chanting that Aluta continua, that their struggle for electoral reforms will continue despite the announcement of President Uhuru Kenyatta as president-elect, saying that despite the boycott by their party leader, that is Raila Odinga, from this election, that struggle for electoral reforms will still continue, and their spirits have not been dampened. Of course, these are scenes that happened later on this evening, but of big concern really to them is the announcement by NASA presidential candidate and opposition chief Raila Odinga that was supposed to happen today, but of course a communication from his team says that he will be making that big announcement tomorrow. Of course, this is the announcement that residents here await to actually now know what they will be doing next, what will be their next course of action. Of course, today during their protest, of course, security operators decided to stay away, and as such, there were no violent confrontation as the previous demonstrations that we've witnessed here in Kisumu town. Of course, security operators here has been indicted heavily with a report from the Amnesty International criticizing security officers for using brutal force on demonstrators, and even going ahead to indict the security of equally breaking into people's homes during those protests. But today's protest here in Kisumu, of course, security deciding to stay away so that they can have their day. But that was just in Kondele area. The better part of Kisumu town was actually peaceful. A little bit of tension here and there because earlier on, when the announcement was going on, businesses in Kibuya market were closing, or rather businessmen and women closing down their shops and actually packing their wares, uncertain of what was going to happen next. But of course, there was no destruction of property, just a group of youth angered by the turn of events as it were, and now turning and pouring onto the streets, burning of tires and barricading of roads, just to register their disappointment of the events as they happened here today. And
thank you, Sam. And of course, part of what he's mentioned